Why is it that when you pick up a reptile that's been lying in the sun for a while, it feels hot when it's supposed to be cold-blooded? Or if we've been sitting outside in the snow for a while and we touch our exposed skin, we feel cold. Aren't we supposed to be warm-blooded? But what does cold-blooded and warm-blooded actually mean? Stay tuned with Ants Reptile Colony to find out. Most of us will be familiar with the terms warm and cold-blooded and associated them with the correct animals, but not quite sure what they mean exactly. And the fact of the matter is that warm and cold-blooded simply refers to animals that are endo or ectothermic as opposed to their blood actually being warm or cold. And to understand the meanings of these terms, we're going to be breaking them down. We've got three parts to look at basically. We've got the word endo, the word ecto, and the word thermic. Starting with the word endo, or the prefix endo, it is meaning within or inside. Ecto being the opposite, meaning it is from outside, and thermic referring to heat or temperature. And in the context of today's topic, it refers to how an animal is able to control or regulate its body temperature. Being endothermic means that a constant body temperature can be maintained independently of the environmental temperature. Mammals are examples of endotherms, which means that we as humans are endotherms, and we are able to maintain this constant body temperature by providing sufficient internal heat through the process of breaking down complex molecules into simple molecules, and this process is known as metabolic heat production. So when it's cold, endotherms increase their metabolic heat production to produce more heat in order to raise their body temperatures. But in order to do that, it means we need to eat more. So you'll find that on colder days, we tend to eat a lot more because we need to increase our body temperature through this process. And on colder days, we tend to eat less because we no longer need to increase the body temperature, but try to reduce the body temperature so we decrease the amount of metabolic heat produced. We rather tend to drink more because water is used in many ways to cool down the body, such as producing sweat for evaporative cooling. Because remember, endotherms want to maintain a constant body temperature, so you don't want to be too hot or too cold. The ability of endotherms to maintain a constant body temperature independent of environmental temperature has allowed them to survive, if not even thrive, in a variety of climates. Ectotherms, on the other hand, rely on external sources of heat in order to regulate their body temperature because they are unable to produce enough metabolic heat to maintain their temperature internally. Also, please note that it is ectothermic, not exothermic, because exothermic reactions are something completely different. It is used in chemistry to describe a reaction that gives off heat during the reaction. Explosions are the most violent form of exothermic reactions, and since I have not known any animals to spontaneously combust, it's not the right term. It is ectothermic. I mentioned earlier that ectotherms require external sources of heat to regulate their body temperature. This means that their body temperature will increase and decrease according to the environmental temperature. If they are in the sun where it's hot and the environmental temperature is high, their body temperature will increase. If it is cold outside, their body temperature will decrease, so it tracks that of the environment. Their blood is not actually cold as commonly stated, because trust me, if you have a lizard in the sun for a while and you go pick it up, it is going to be anything but cold. They, however, cannot lie in the sun indefinitely. They can also overheat. Remember, ectotherms are also trying to maintain or regulate their body temperature, even though their limits are much broader than an endotherms. They just can't regulate it internally. So instead, it's linked to behavior. When it's cold, they go and lie in the sun to heat up until an optimal temperature is reached, in which case they then leave the sun and go on about their business. If it's too hot, they might go into the shade or some water where they can cool off to bring their body temperature down to their optimum, and then they can go carry on doing what they're doing, whether it's foraging or defending territory or whatever it may be. That's why if you ever get yourself a pet reptile, you always need to have a thermal gradient in your enclosure, moving from a warm end to a cool end. Most cases also require a basking spot where they can get that extra bit of heat, as well as a hiding spot, because without the thermal gradient, your pet will not be able to regulate its body temperature effectively. Recapping, endotherms produce their heat internally while ectotherms rely on an external heat source, which means in general, endotherms have a much higher metabolism than ectotherms, which is why we need to eat so much more often. I mean, compare your dog who would eat possibly twice a day, to your pet snake, which could eat once a week or once every 10 days. And as always, there are exceptions to the rule, as of course this is nature, which means there are animals that tend to blur the line between endothermy and ectothermy. And if you want to hear more about those animals, smash that like button, because it lets me know and it lets YouTube know that you are enjoying that content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button while you're down there, as well as the notification bell so that you can keep up to date with any of the new content. But until then, click the video here on screen now, and remember, it's never too late to learn, so I'll catch you in the next one. Because exothermic. Because exo